والأسئلة وهذا must be in English. حتى لو English مكسر ما مشكلة. هذه بس نبغى just.
Okay, thank you. Just to save the time, I have to have a very fast flying presentation about botulinum toxin therapy. Simply, everybody knows the Botox, which is now very famous in the market and the industry and in the plastic and cosmetic studios. So I'm going to speak about the Botox from the neuro side of view. And everybody knows that now it is very common and popular material for the wrinkles and for the cosmetic in the feminine side. Anyway, we are going to talk about the using of the botulinum toxin, the Botox, in the management of neurodystonia and spasticity, which is very common in our society. Dystonia defined as disturbance in the contracture of the muscle. It is actually a very simple spasm of the muscle, and spasticity is the same spasm in the muscle and joint stiffness. Both are very common in our world, especially after all kind of neurosurgical insults. So everybody knows the common indication for using the Botox, other than the cosmetic, is very wide, and now the range of indication and usage of the Botox is growing up and up. First, we are usually starting or trying first to treat and to manage the dystonia and the spasticity with a very simple conservative medicines, and here some of them listed, and then we are going to use the physiotherapy as a second modality, but most of them they are going to fail, and then we have to go further for the local intramuscular injection of the Botox. Right now we have a lot of industrial form of the Botox, but the most common known form are shown here. And in Yemen, the one which is available is this one on the right side, which is I think European product, and every vial contain 100 international unit, where you can use it according to the type of the lesion and the location of the lesion and the tone of the muscle. So as everybody knows, I'm not actually myself with the opinion and with the behavior of using the Botox in the cosmetic side. As everybody knows, the well-known celebrity faces after and before the Botox and how they are ugly. So now actually we are using the Botox from the top of the head till the bottom of the toes. We are starting usually from the head. The Botox now is a very effective medicine against all kinds of the headache, especially the tension headache. Then if you are going down, we can use the Botox for the wrinkles. Then the ophthalmologist knows very well that it's a very effective in management of the blepharospasm, and then the hemifacial spasm or mandible dystonia, and extra. Of course, for all kinds of hyperhidrosis, either axillary or palmar, still one of the very simple option. Simply any area which suffer a muscle contraction or muscle spasm, spastic pain, you can use this kind of magic medicines as a local filtration from the temporalis muscle or the frontal muscle in the front of the head till the simple palmar muscle in the dorsum of the foot. So just in a very simple fashion, where you have an affected spastic painful muscle, you can use this kind of medicine. Mechanism is still actually hypothesis, and no real established theory how this kind of medicine works. But anyway, it is the same as our colleagues knows, receptors block and antigen antibody reaction, the usual the usual mechanism for all kinds of the medicines. Actually, I did myself. I just studied my cases, which I treated here for the last couple of years, and my simple study was targeted to investigate the privacy and the speciality of our society. Is the medicines here is effective as the same as everywhere, or if we have any sort of any side effect which is different than the other world, or how much effective this kind of medicine is. So I studied my cases which I created, and all kind of the indication have been tested from the simple headache and downward till the spastic paraparesis or monoparesis or monoplegic anywhere, and the dosage. Okay, the indication is clear. You have a very extensive spastic, painful spasticity or spasm in any area, and you tried with a simple oral treatment, and you goes further with the physiotherapy, and the patient is still suffering, then in this case, I'm going to start to use the Botox. And it's usually a simple intramuscular injection or infiltration, and the dose, it depends upon the tone of the muscle, the bulk of the muscle, and the severity of the illness. Actually, the spasticity and dystonia going to affect the quality of life for every person. And you know, if you have or if you are suffering from oral dystonia, you cannot masticate well, and you cannot speak, and you will suffer a lot of the social barrier and social problem. So one of the target of using this kind of magic medicine is to improve the quality of the life and to improve the social intervention for the sufferer, and to help him going back to the normal life. Actually, here just a simple figure which shows the amount of the effectiveness of the medicines, and on the same time how much the suffers is coming from the dystonia and the spasticity in every organ. You can here just imagine how much the life is difficult for this patient who is suffering from this illness. And pain is the most important thing in our society, which is alarming the patient to ask or to seek a help. And the simple classical standard worldwide tool to assess the pain severity is the visual analog pain severity scale, which is simply from 1 to 2. One is no pain until it's very extreme agonizing pain, and then you can start the injection of the medicines, and to assess again the post therapy result, if the pain going to be improved or not. Of course, there is no total cure for this illness. Only we are going to decrease the morbidity. We are going to improve the patient illness. We are going to trying to better or to pushing the quality of the life up. Actually, from a wide range of the patient with all kinds of indication and with a different doses of the Botox injection, the results were very optimistic. Most of all, we have no any great side effect or complication, just apart from a simple localized infection. Sometimes, especially when it was injected in the tongue, you can suffer from tongue cellulitis. Just one case, we had a tongue abscess. Otherwise, no any sort for overdosage or toxicity or other effectiveness. Of course, it is a safe medicine in the experienced hand. It is a good, safe medicine in a good, well-trained hand. And that's why worldwide you are not allowed to use or inject this kind of medicine if you are not certified And to be certified, you should have a course, you should work under supervision, and then you are certified to inject or to use this medicine according to your medical privilege standards. Here, I'm just listing a lot of the cases which we are had, and from a simple headache till, as I told, and all of them just receive the medicines, which is usually the efficacy of the medicine started a week after injection, goes in the peak after 2 weeks, and stays for as long as 16 to 20 weeks, according to or depending on the patient character and the severity of the illness. So just to be in hurry, I tried myself to give the medicine under guidance of EMG, and I give it without any guidance of EMG, and I found the results are the same depending on the severity of the illness and the technique of the injection. In our society, most of the sufferers are male, and actually the amphetamines plays a great role, and chat are one of the famous local amphetamines, which is going to make a big extreme disturbances in the muscle tone and muscle behavior. That's why the oral dystonia in our society is 100 times more false than the international standard. And actually, I didn't find myself any patient who's suffering from oral dystonia and he's not showing a cat. So cat in our society is the most provocative factor to suffer from this sort of dystonia. Social status plays a role, psychosocial status plays a role. Any sort of neurosis, I mean psychoneurosis, or any sort of depression or social behavior, social conflict could have a great role. As everybody knows, just to amphetamine, as I told in a while, actually is the main criminal part in this drama. So my message that the treatment with a Botox in a good experienced hand in a very selective patient is safe and effective. Thank you so much. Questions? Rate of recurrence, actually, the first session of therapy going to have a very good result, and after 20 weeks, some of them will suffer again, and you have to repeat the therapy. And of course, the efficacy will going down and down. The body forming antibodies against the antigen of the Botox itself. And in my experience, after the third time, the Botox has no effect more. So I'm going to inject the Botox first, second, and third, and that's all. After 3 times, the body formed already a very extensive, strong antibodies against the Botox, and the Botox has no effect at all. Actually, yes. As I told, right now, the indication of the Botox is growing up and up. Actually, they are using it, as I told, very simply. Headache, wrinkles, blepharospasm, hemifacial spasm, dystonia, torticollis, esophageal atresia, irritable bowel syndrome, neurogenic bladder, back pain and back spasm, spastic limbs, hyperhidrosis, axillary and palmar. And now they are the endocrine surgeon going to use it as an injection for the hemorrhoid, for the anal sinuses, for the anal fissures, everywhere.
Next, Dr. Natasha.
Yes. As I told, time zero has actually no effect. The effect starts a week after the injection, and going to the peak of the efficacy after 2 weeks, and stays for 16 to 20 weeks from the injection time. The second cycle will be the same, but the improvement will be less. And the third cycle will be the same, but the improvement and the efficacy will get less and less.
Dr. Nasr. Yes, I agree with you. Doing applications of but attention headache, that is not very difficult. It must apply a very specific criteria to diagnose it. Otherwise, everybody will be in every case of headache, chronic sinusitis, cerebral completion, psychic problems. This indication must be restricted.
I'm with you correctly. Actually, we are just going to recommend the giving of the Botox for the agonizing, therapy-resistant, okay? Agonizing, therapy-resistant tension headache in a very selective cases. So you have to start, of course, headache is a headache. We are usually starting with a very simple painkiller, as usual, searching the other causes of the headache. And we are just giving the Botox for a very selective, therapy-resistant, agonizing, severe, affecting quality of life headache. And actually, through the last 2 years, I give it just 3 times for a headache, only 3 times in a 10 years. And you know, 20% of our patients.
Hello, Dr. Bennett.
Hello.
Hello.
Just a minute.
Oh, Bashir?
Certified.
Yes.
It's a very safe
How are you?
and a good hand. And you should be certified. You are not allowed medical legally to inject the headache if you are not certified. Again, I'm pressing and confirming you should be certified. It is a very risky and very dangerous medicine if you are giving it without at the end, it's a toxin. It is the main toxin, the main cause of toxin for a tetanus. And everybody knows the survival patient after the tetanus disease in the history, just 2 or 3 cases, not more. So it is a killer.
What type of treatment?
Okay. Actually, Muhammad, Mr. John Bennett is online. When Muhammad?
Yes, Bashir. We have Bashir here.
Actually,
Yes. Hello.
for treatment itself,
Okay, Bashir is ready to present.
Yes, I'm ready, Dr. Bennett.
about the trimmer.
Okay,
And myself, I'm not convincing with the indication of for a trimmer. It is a sort of movement disorder, and Botox is one of the tools to treat the movement disorder. But you know, trimmer, it's not a local thing. Actually, trimmer, it's a central systemic disease, and Botox used as a local agent. Yes. Okay. Okay. Can we go
Please
there?
get your questions to the point and answer also to the point.
okay, Ismail.
Yes, John.
Yes, Bashir is here. He's ready to
Yes.
present.
Okay. We can start. Sorry, the speaker is online. Can we postpone the discussion later on? I mean, Mr. Bashir is waiting online. Okay, Mr. Bashir, we are waiting for your.
Okay, can you introduce him, please, Ismail?
Yes, right now.
Okay.
A moment. Okay.
Could you introduce him, please?
Yes. Dr. Bashir bin Araba, he's a scientist and researcher from Algeria. and he's actually a famous researcher in the area. And we are so happy to have you, Mr. Bashir. Welcome. Greeting from Sana'a, from Yemen. And I think you are going to speak today about the medicinal plants as a source of bioactive molecules. Okay, Mr. Bashir, welcome, and go ahead. You have the sound.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Kapsi, and Assalamu alaikum. It's a very great pleasure to be with you, and thank you for the organizing committee, for Professor Kapsi, for inviting me to share with you this conference, and thank you for Dr. Bennett for the technical support for the video conference. Did you hear me very well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. My conference is about medicinal plants as a source of bioactive molecules. You know that medicinal plants are used by a lot of people around the world, and especially in our countries, our developing countries, such as Algeria, Yemen, Africa, Asia. And you know that the adventure of the medicinal plants as source of new anti-cancer drugs began in the 50s, when the vancomycin, vancomycin, vinblastine were discovered. Nowadays, we have a lot of several drugs used as anti-cancer in clinical treatments, such as Taxol, vinblastine, camptothecin, and in recent years, researchers have worked hardly on these plants, and we have a combining ethnobotanical studies, phytochemical investigations, and biological activities, elucidation of medicinal plants. And we have a lot of papers, a lot of projects, a lot of molecules that can lead us to conclude that medicinal plants can or could play an important role as an alternative, promising source of new anti-cancer molecules with cytotoxic activity, pathogenic activity, and also anti-migration, anti-metastasis activity. You know, medicinal plants are a source of a lot of several secondary metabolites. Secondary metabolites are molecules produced by plants when the plant is stressed or is attacked. And you know, the secondary metabolites have been shown to possess important activities, especially in cancer. Today, it's well documented that secondary metabolites extracted from medicinal plants can have an important anti-cancer activity by, for example, induction of apoptosis, and extrinsic pathway, induction of cell cycle arrest, or induction of oxidative stress. And also medicinal plants and their metabolites can have an antioxidant activity, an activity which is very important in chemoprevention of cancer, and also, as I said, inhibition of invasion and migration. And in this conference, I will present you some examples, 5 examples of crude extracts of plants recently shown to have an important anti-cancer activity, especially against brain cancer and against glioma. I think that the most important to be considered is that medicinal plants, when the crude extract is used, is that the bioactive molecule is in very small or very little concentrations. And we have, for example, a plant which is usually used in Yemen, in Algeria, in Africa, which is Melissa officinalis, or which is called lemon balm. This Melissa officinalis has been shown to have a very important cytotoxic effect against glioblastoma cystic cells. And you know better than me that the glioblastoma multiforme is the most aggressive CNS cancers, and this plant, or the extract of this plant, was able to induce apoptosis. And we know that induction of apoptosis is one of the important alternative mechanisms of anti-cancer activity for drugs and for natural products. Furthermore, this plant was able to induce necrosis and also increasing intracellular Ross reactive oxygen species, which is synonym of oxidative stress. And it has been shown that the major active compound of this plant, which could be responsible of this anti-cancer activity, was the rosmarinic acid. Also, we have another plant, Leonoris sibericus, is from Serbia, but we have similar plants in our countries. And in this study published in 2016, the scientists used the root extract. And the most important is that this root extract has or had shown a very important anti-cancer activity against glioma cells. And similarly, it induced apoptosis, as was shown by the increasing of Bax-BCL2 ratio, 5-fold more, and P53, which is the guardian of the genome, and also the plant induced the cell cycle RAS at G2M. And that there is a relationship between cell cycle RAS and apoptosis. Perhaps cell cycle RAS is a consequence of apoptosis, or that apoptosis or that the cell cycle RAS can lead to apoptosis. And in this plant, the bioactive compounds were polyphenols. Polyphenols are very present in vegetables, and polyphenols such as flavonoids or phenolic acids are used as chemopreventive agents. And for thus, for example, eating fruits and vegetables is considered as a protective factor against some cancers, such as brain cancer. We have a third plant, which is I think that is also present in Yemen or in Algeria. We have it in Algeria. The leaves extract. The leaves extract was able to inhibit cell growth of glioblastoma cell lines. The scientists have used three cell lines, an aggressive cell line, and this extract was able to induce apoptosis through ERK1, 2, and AKT pathways activation. And as rutin is a flavonoid, the major compound of rotograviolinase, was not able to show similar anti-cancer activity. It has been suggested that with this plant we have a synergistic effect, and it is very important to remember that some plants exert their anti-cancer activity through a synergistic effect between 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more compounds. And which is important to say that, for example, when our populations in Yemen, in Algeria, in Africa, or in Asia, or in Europe, use a plant or an extract to treat or to manage a disease, is not the same or has not the same effect when we use purified molecules. And this leads me to say that ethnobotanical studies are very important. Medical doctors, biochemists, botanists, pharmacologists should work on ethnobotanical studies. One, to document the popular knowledge. Our populations have accumulated through years and centuries a very important and interesting medicinal or ethnomedicinal knowledge, and we have to document this knowledge. We have another plant, Scotinus cochigaria. The scientists in this study, published in 2015, have used a fresh flavonoid extract, and this rich flavonoid extract was used against 3 glioblastoma cell lines. And similarly, apoptosis was induced, and also they showed or they demonstrate an in vivo antiglioblastoma activity. And the major compounds were, as you see, flavonoids, melastein, rutin, and quercetin. And this was about 5 examples of curd extracts which have demonstrated the anti-cancer activities. We can use also purified molecules or plant-derived products. And I will give you 2 recent examples. The first example is about melastein. Melastein is a flavonoid, as you see, its chemical structure with 3 nucleus. And this flavonoid is known to have an important antioxidant activity. And you know, antioxidant activity is very important in the chemoprevention of cancer. You know what? When we have an accumulation of free radicals or free roots into the cells, we have like an oxidative stress, and this oxidative stress can lead to induction of tumorigenesis or carcinogenesis, and this flavonoid acts like an antioxidant, like the vitamin C, for example. And melastein has been shown in 2016 to have an important anti-cancer activity against glioma cells. And this anti-cancer activity was mediated through apoptosis induction, cell cycle arrest, ROS formation, and inhibition of cell migration, which is very important. You know, this product can be used as anti-metastasis or in anti-metastasis treatment of or prevention. We have also apigenin. Apigenin is very important, very known. Its activity in cancer is well documented, but recently, apigenin extracted from a plant, which is Croton butylasomol, was very active against C6 glioma cells. And the most important of the study, or the most interesting of the study, is that this apigenin was active at very minor concentration, 2.8 micromolar per liter, which is 40 times lower than that of temozolomide, with an IC50 of 1,000 micromolar per liter. Also, and furthermore, additionally, apigenin was able to induce apoptosis, cell cycle arrest, and autophagy. There are 2 examples of purified molecules, 5 examples of medicinal plants which can be used as sources of new anti-cancer molecules in the treatment of brain cancer. As a conclusion, you know, scientists in our countries should document this ethnobotanical knowledge. Why? Because with years, this ethnobotanical knowledge is disappearing, you know, and our populations, our young populations, have the trend to not use this this activity. And no, also plants could play an important role as alternative for brain cancer treatment by providing active molecules. And as a final conclusion, that we should cooperate. We must cooperate between biochemists, medical doctors, botanists, and neurosurgeons as an urgent need. This was my very light conference about medicinal plants, and I know that Yemen has an important civilization, and also Yemeni populations have an important great ethnomedicinal knowledge, ethnomedicinal culture, and they should document and share and also preserve this knowledge. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for inviting me. And it was a very big pleasure, great pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bashir. I think Ismail will probably want to say a word or two. Ismail?
Great, thanks for this very nice and helpful lecture, and I will open the line for any comments or questions regarding the lecture mentioned before. Anybody who has any comment or lecture, please, Dr. Ismail.
Thank you for this great presentation. Actually, we are suffering in our society from the traditional plants or medicinal plants, which is now over and abused. And my question is, how can you differentiate between the common traditional behavior in our Arabic society of the abusing the medicines as the plant as a medicine, and between the scientific approved way of using the plants as a medicine?
Okay, can I answer? Or?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. I didn't hear you very well, but I think that your question was about abuse of use of these medicinal plants by local populations. You know, one plant is a source of, I don't know, a very important number of molecules. And we have some examples of abuse. For example, we have in Algeria a plant which is called Dystonia longa. It is a plant used as a magical plant in the treatment of cancer, and it's not true. You know why? Because local populations cannot differ between this plant and another similar plants which are very toxic. Secondary, that this plant, for example, when we have a lipid extract, we have aristolochic acids, and these aristolochic acids are very nephrotoxic and can lead to renal failure. You know, and the most important is the scientific research to give the scientific basis, the scientific arguments, the scientific basis for these ethnobotanical knowledge. Our populations, I think that we have a lot of therapeutists, popular therapists or popular healers that have a very important knowledge, and we should, I think we should work with them in order to establish local pharmacopoeia in Algeria or in Yemen for preventing this abuse or this misconducts in the using of these medicinal plants.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you have any other question, please, Dr. Natasha. A question from Dr. Natasha.
Respected Dr. Bashir, would you be so kind to clear up the situation with clinical effects between medical plants, which is gathering in wild nature, and what is cultivated in a special farm or gardens? Is there any difference between clinical effects? Thanks.
Okay. Okay, the question was about the difference of the activity between a natural or plant collected in forests, for example, and cultivated medicinal plants. I think that several studies carried out in our university, in Mascai University, in the University of Mascai in Algeria, and in different Algerian universities, have shown that yes, there is a difference. Why? Because we have difference of soil, of climate, of several conditions, and the most important that these secondary metabolites, these active compounds, are produced by the plants while they are stressed. And for example, when we have to cultivate a plant which is native of Sahara, of south of Algeria, with 50 degrees of temperature, for example, it's not the same plant. It's not the same. There are not the same concentrations of metabolites, of active metabolites, as, for example, the same plants cultivated in Mascara in the north of Algeria with 30, for example, 30 degrees temperature in spring. And we have a lot of studies that have shown this difference in effect. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? Any comment or question regarding the use of plants in and they're affecting the protection or management of brain cancers? We have another lecture. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. John is online.
John, actually, we have a break right now. Could we see you again in 2 hours, John?
Yes, okay.
Oh, you're exhausted and you're going to sleep.
Okay, no, I'll see you in 2 hours.
Good, okay. Thank you, Mr. Bashir, for your great and kind presentation. Meet you soon in the future. And John, we are going to have a simple industrial presentation, a simple video from the industry side of you. And anyway, we will be back in 2 hours. Huh?
Okay, we'll see you in 2 hours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John.